All right, so today we're diving into something a little bit different.
Okay.
Um, you sent us this document, How to Make Russia Smaller in 2025, a global call to action.
hmm
Kind of a strong statement, huh?
Ye-
Especially, with everything going on between Russia and Ukraine.
Yeah.
What we're going to do today is break down some of the strategies that this
Uh,
document proposes.
all right.
But just to be clear, we're not endorsing any viewpoint
Got it.
here.
Yeah.
Just think of us as your guide through this document,
Okay.
hoping you understand what's in it.
Cool.
So it's fascinating.
It is a fascinating document.
Okay.
Um, it goes beyond simply criticizing Russia. It lays out a multi-pronged plan,
Right.
almost a roadmap for diminishing Russia's global influence.
Oh, wow.
It really wants to shake up the geopolitical landscape.
So right off the bat, it focuses on Russia's oil and gas sector.
Mm.
Why do you think they see this as such a key pressure point?
Well, Russia's economy relies so heavily on energy exports,
Uh-huh.
and the document argues that by cutting off this income, it would severely limit their ability to finance their military.
It's something we've all felt personally, right? The global energy market has been so volatile, and this push for alternative energy sources
Yeah.
is partly driven by a desire to lessen our dependence on Russia.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the document gets even bolder.
Oh, wow.
It suggests that frozen Russian assets,
What does that mean?
well, we're talking potentially trillions of dollars
Oh,
held in foreign banks, could be used to rebuild Ukraine.
that raises so many questions.
Sure does.
Is that even legally possible?
Well, it would definitely be a complex legal battle.
Oh, yeah.
No question. There's little precedent for something on this scale,
hmm
but the sheer amount of money involved makes it an intriguing idea.
Okay, so moving on, the document goes beyond just economic pressure.
hmm
It's very direct in advocating for arming Ukraine,
Yeah.
giving them a huge range of weaponry.
Oh, wow.
It specifically lists tanks, drones, artillery, almost emphasizing the urgency of the situation.
Yeah.
It's interesting how it frames this conflict.
Uh-huh.
It uses phrases like Ukraine as the front line of freedom.
Right. It seems to be a key part of their argument,
Yeah.
presenting this not just as a regional conflict,
Mm.
but as a global fight for democracy.
Elevates the stakes considerably.
It does.
Now, this is where things take a turn.
Okay.
The document proposes supporting independence movements within Russia itself.
Oh, wow.
Regions like Siberia and areas in the Caucasus are specifically mentioned.
Mm.
What's the historical context here, and why is this such a controversial strategy?
Well, many of these regions have complex and often fraught relationships with the Russian government,
Okay.
stemming from historical grievances, cultural differences, and even previous attempts at secession.
Right.
Advocating for their independence is essentially poking at Russia's sense of territorial integrity
I see.
and could further inflame tensions.
Okay, so practically speaking, how would you even go about supporting these movements? You can't just send in troops.
Well, the document suggests things like providing financial aid, political recognition,
Oh.
and humanitarian assistance to these regions.
Uh-huh.
However, the risks are undeniable.
Yeah.
Russia has consistently shown a willingness to use force to quell separatist movements.
So it's a high-stakes gamble aimed at weakening Russia from within.
Yeah, it's a bit like a chess game trying to outmaneuver your opponent by targeting their vulnerabilities.
And the document doesn't stop there.
Oh,
It even proposes encouraging a brain drain of skilled Russians.
really?
Scientists, engineers, tech specialists, essentially luring them away from Russia.
Wow.
How would they achieve this, and what impact are they hoping for?
Well, they suggest offering incentives like expedited visas,
Okay.
scholarships at foreign universities, and job placements in other countries.
Interesting.
The idea is to drain Russia of the talent it needs for economic and technological development, ultimately hindering its progress on the world stage.
It's a really interesting strategy.
Yeah.
Historically, we've seen how the flow of talent can impact a nation's trajectory.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the rise of Silicon Valley, for example.
Precisely. Attracting and retaining skilled individuals can be a game changer for a country's growth and innovation.
And to further that goal, the document calls for cutting off Russia's access to technology,
Oh, wow.
especially in key sectors like energy and aerospace. It even mentions specific examples like denying access to certain software or restricting exports of essential components.
So this goes beyond just weakening Russia's current capabilities.
Yeah,
It's about preventing them from advancing technologically in the future,
right.
limiting their potential for innovation and growth in strategic industries.
So it's a multi-layered approach,
Yeah.
hitting them on the economic, military, and technological fronts.
Mm-hmm.
What stands out to you about this combination of strategies?
What's striking is the document's long-term vision. It's not just about reacting to Russia's current actions.
Right.
It's about shaping Russia's future,
Wow.
making them less of a force in the years to come.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit and talk about culture.
Okay.
The document advocates for a boycott of Russian culture,
Really?
including things like movies, literature, and art.
Huh.
What's their reasoning behind this?
Well, the document argues that during times of conflict,
Yeah.
engagement with a nation's culture, particularly if it's state-sponsored, could be perceived as tacit approval of that nation's actions.
So it's about sending a message of disapproval.
Yeah, and it's also about limiting Russia's soft power,
Soft power.
their ability to influence global perceptions and opinions through cultural means.
Oh, I see.
It's a tactic that's been used in other conflicts with varying degrees of success.
Of course, there are counter-arguments to this approach.
Right.
Boycotting culture can also isolate people
Yeah.
and hinder understanding between different societies.
Yeah.
It's definitely a complex issue with no easy answers.
Absolutely. And the document acknowledges that Russian culture is rich and diverse.
Yeah.
It's not about rejecting the entirety of Russian culture, but rather about making a strategic statement during a time of conflict.
It's about choosing where you engage
Yeah.
and what message you're sending through that engagement.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And within this cultural sphere,
Okay.
the document also calls for supporting democratic activists within Russia. People who are speaking out against the government, often at great personal risk.
It sees this as another way to apply internal pressure on the Russian government.
Yes, and it suggests providing these activists with various forms of support,
Okay.
including funding, training, and platforms to amplify their voices.
That's a bold move. These activists are often facing significant danger,
Yeah.
and any support from outside could be seen as interference in Russia's internal affairs.
It's a delicate balance.
Right.
On the one hand, you want to support those who are fighting for democratic values. On the other hand, you don't want to inadvertently endanger those individuals
Right.
or escalate the conflict.
It's a reminder that these geopolitical strategies aren't just abstract ideas.
Yeah,
They have real-world consequences for people on the ground.
absolutely.
Kerr.
Every action has a reaction, and it's crucial to consider the potential ramifications,
Right.
both intended and unintended.
Speaking of actions and reactions, the document doesn't shy away from suggesting increased cyber offensives against Russia,
Cyber offensives.
including disrupting infrastructure and targeting military logistics. This seems like a very high-risk, high-reward strategy.
It's certainly a controversial topic.
Yeah,
Cyber warfare is a relatively new domain,
right.
and the rules of engagement are still being defined. The potential for escalation and unintended consequences is enormous.
And the ethical considerations are significant.
Oh, yeah.
What's acceptable in cyber warfare? Where do you draw the line?
Those are questions that governments and cybersecurity experts are grappling with right now. It's a constantly evolving landscape, and the implications are far-reaching.
The document also calls for isolating Russia on the global stage, specifically mentioning pushing for their suspension or removal from organizations like the UN Security Council.
The UN?
What kind of impact would that have?
Well, the UN Security Council holds immense power when it comes to international relations.
Right.
Removing Russia would significantly diminish their ability to influence global affairs and potentially pave the way for more decisive action against them.
However, it would also be a highly controversial move.
Yeah.
Likely facing strong opposition from Russia and its allies.
It would be seen as a major escalation of tensions,
Right.
and the ramifications for international diplomacy are difficult to predict.
And finally, the document concludes with a direct call to action, urging readers to support Ukraine through a specific website, ukraineboost.com.
ukraineboost.com.
What's the purpose of this website?
It seems to be a platform for individuals to contribute directly to Ukraine's defense and humanitarian efforts.
Oh, wow.
It mentions things like selling merchandise and using the profits to support various initiatives.
So it's providing a tangible way for people to get involved and make a difference.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's taking this global conflict and bringing it down to the individual level, empowering people to take action and contribute to the cause.
It's a reminder that even in a situation that feels as complex and overwhelming as this one, there are things that ordinary people can do to make a difference.
It's about harnessing the power of collective action,
Right.
of individuals coming together to support a common goal.
Okay.